Chapter 157 An Oath Made by a High Five. That 30 or so year old teacher went up the stairs inside the second block of the 6th grade. This classroom block was 6 stories high, and he brought Huoyu out to the 5th before they turned down a corridor. They walked down it a few dozen meters until the teacher stopped before a door. There was a tag on the door that read third laboratory. He's already taking me to the lab. Huoyu had some doubts in his mind when he saw where they were. However, he didn't have any control over what he was going to learn while he was here. The young teacher took out a nameplate from his pocket and waved it in front of the door. A similar sight to what Huoyu had seen at the measuring room yesterday presented itself. A single beam of light flashed, followed by the door opening. Come in. The young teacher's voice was simple and pithy as he led Huoyu into the lab. The lab was extremely large and spacious. It was larger than Fanyu's lab in Shrek Academy. There were all sorts of sol tools and metallic materials on display, while the gigantic lab desk was more than 30 square meters in size. The matte, silverish white metallic surface was squeaky clean and gave off a pleasant sensation. The lab was empty save for them. Nobody else was around. The young teacher said in an uninterested manner, "My name's Sun Swen, and I'll be your teacher from today onwards. I don't care what the assessment rank you've received from Shrek Academy is. You'll have to retake my tests from the very beginning. If you can't pass my assessments, you'll have independent learning in the library so that you don't waste my time." Huoyu was taken aback. He'd never expected this teacher to say something like this. He didn't want to teach him. Huoyu couldn't help but ask, "Teacher Sun, is every teacher in charge of the exchange students like you?" It would spell immense trouble for them if this was the case. He was confident that he'd be able to learn something by himself in the library, but he knew from his experiences with Fanu that there were some topics that one would have to ponder for several days to understand alone, rather than being able to simply resolve it in just a few minutes with the teacher's help. Sun Swen didn't seem to react to Huoyu's jibe, and he replied coldly, "I don't care how others act. This is just how I do things. My schedule is tight, so if you find this unfair, go and take your dispute to Lin Jai and request a change of mentorship. I didn't want to take this responsibility anyway, so I'm telling you what choices you have." Huoyu thought about Zhou Yu when he gazed into the coldness in Sun Swen's eyes. Teacher Zhou's strictness and fierceness was different, but learning under Zhou Yu gave Huoyu some experience with teachers who had strange personalities. Teachers with characters meant they had standards, and tests were just tests anyway. How could he be afraid of assessments? Huoyu tempered his emotions momentarily before he gave his answer. "I'm willing to take your assessment." Sun Swen's calm but cold eyes flowed with a strange emotion, and he shot a mildly surprised glance at Huoyu and said, "All right, then let's begin. The badge on your chest should represent a Class 3 Sol engineer from Shrek Academy. I'll give you 15 minutes. You can select from any of the materials here, and you will forge your best Class 3 Sol tool formation arrays for me. It's not about how low your class is, it's about a Sol engineer's thoughts and his or her creativity. This is my only prompt for you. You may begin." With that, Sun Swen stepped to one side. He flipped his wrist, and a small timer appeared in his hands. 15 minutes were entered, and he placed it on the lab desk after starting the countdown. Huoyu started on his work as soon as possible. Ever since he had joined the Ultimate Soldier Plan, he had simply put in too much effort. However, he was still a 14-year-old teenager after all. He had passed his Sol physique measurement with flying colors, and an arrogant flare rose from his heart after he received Sun Swen's neglect and indifference. He walked towards the metallic materials before him. He didn't even bother inspecting them closely, but instead immediately activated his spiritual detection and perceived everything in his mind. He raised his right hand, and 5 dark golden blades protruded from his fingertips. He swung his hand gently and sliced off the corner of a bright silver chunk of metal. Huoyu raised his left hand, used the controlling crane capturing dragon technique, and this piece of metal was securely in his grasp. He withdrew the dark golden terraclaw, and diamond ice crystals suddenly appeared on both of his hands. He placed his hands together and gradually kneaded the metal piece that he had just shaved off. Sun Swen gasped in surprise when he first saw the dark golden terraclaw. He was already more than 30 years old, but he had been immersed in soul tools for more than 20 years, and he could clearly tell that Huoyu wasn't using a soul tool. The metal that he had chosen was the notoriously tough and hard titanium. It was a rare metal that was only produced within the Sun Moon Empire. Sun Swen's first impression when he chose titanium was, did he make a mistake? However, his pupils immediately contracted when the dark golden blade swiped across the silver white titanium chunk and effortlessly chopped the piece off without even making a single sound. His brain started to work quickly as he attempted to calculate the dark golden blade's sharpness and toughness. What shook Sun Swen even more was what came after. A series of crackling sounds could be heard from between Huoyu's palms, and a fine silver white powder started drifting down from his hands. The diamond ice crystals looked incredibly brilliant as they reflected the light from inside the lab. Huoyu came before the lab desk without giving Sun Swen a chance to deliberate. His demeanor changed a little as well, and Sun Swen could subtly feel Huoyu's otherworldly focus and stability. A silver white sphere that was about as large as a light appeared on the table. He used his hands to knead titanium into a sphere. Sun Swen was in awe once more. He hadn't collected any of Huoyu's assessment details and particulars from Lin Jai before this, so he had no idea what this 15 or 16-year-old teenager's abilities were like. He hadn't even seen Huoyu's soul rings, but he had already used 2 soul skills. Sun Swen was finally attracted by Huoyu's behavior. However, he told himself that Huoyu's display of abilities was that of a soul master. Huoyu was from the #1 soul master academy in the continent, Shrek, so his possession of these abilities wasn't that wondrous. He was here to test Huoyu's soul engineering abilities. Huoyu started working while Sun Swen continued thinking to himself. A silver white carving knife appeared in his hands, but it wasn't the Life Guardian blade. It was just a normal fine golden carving knife, and there was a layer of diamond powder on the blade. It was enough to carve and sculpt most metals, but it wasn't the best of the best. It would be extremely difficult to cut certain hard metals, and it could even break. Huoyu's left hand pinched the small silver white sphere while his left hand walked swiftly. His movements were incredibly fast, at least, it seemed this way from Sun Swen's perspective. Every slice connected to the next without pause, and deep grooves began to appear on this silver white metal sphere surface. Sun Swen came next to Huoyu out of curiosity, and meticulously monitored his work. Huoyu worked with tremendous speed. It didn't take long for sophisticated and intricate patterns to appear on the metal sphere surface. However, Sun Swen's brows knitted into a knot, and he muttered to himself, "Charge, speed, 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 speed." Adding 7 arrays to such a small body is outstanding, but why are you making 6 speeds? If this were used as a soul thruster, a single use would break your back in half. Titanium is strong and tough, but 7 arrays being added to a piece this size, and 6 speeds. You are pursuing something so extreme, so you can only use it once. Don't you feel like it's a waste due to the fact that you will discard it after a single instance? Sun Swen's voice wasn't that soft, but Huoyu seemed to be paying no attention to outside matters and focused on his work. The titanium sphere constantly rotated as the carving knife in his right hand sliced down repeatedly. Thin and fine titanium powder scattered subtly all over the lab desk. Sun Swen became even more interested in Huoyu at this point. He could tell that this teenager's foundations were good, and even though this was a Class 3 soul tool, adding so many arrays at once was something that only a Class 4 soul engineer should be able to do. His hands were steady while his movements were quick yet rhythmic. What was more impressive was that he didn't make a single mistake despite all his bewildering speed, and Sun Swen could tell with one look that it wasn't Huoyu's first time creating formation arrays like this. Formation arrays were a soul tool's heart and soul, so there was no room for errors. Even a tiny error or mistake would cause the soul tool to be discarded as worthless. 5 minutes. Huoyu took only 5 minutes to sculpt his formation array. He blew on the metal sphere gently, and a layer of metallic powder drifted down. The carving was complete. What was previously just a normal titanium sphere now looked like an exquisite art piece at this point. Deep and shallow grooves, vertical and horizontal lines snaked all over the metal sphere, giving it a formidable 3-dimensionality. "I'm done, Teacher Sun." Huoyu clasped the small formation array sphere in his hands. Sun Swen said coldly, "That's nothing impressive. Do you think creating such an extreme formation array is considered creative?" Huoyu glanced at the timer and said, "Teacher Sun, there's still some time left. With your permission, I hope to be able to forge the entire soul tool and demonstrate it to you. The profundity of this soul tool I intend to create isn't about its formation arrays." "Oh." Sun Swen watched him with astonishment and said, "All right, show me. If it's actually that creative, you are allowed to exceed the time limit by a little bit." His interest was now sufficiently piqued by this youth from Shrek Academy. "Yes." Huo Yuao acknowledged and immediately returned to the pile of metal from before. He didn't pick titanium anymore, but chose iron instead, which was the most normal metal. It was a typical metal that was rarely used even when forging a soul tool shell. Iron was typically used for molds, and people rarely used it directly for forging soul tools. The dark golden terraclor appeared once again, and chopped off piece after piece of iron. From Sun Wen's perspective, Huo Yuao's methods of creating soul tools were extremely special and unique. Huo Yuao could use his hands to knead a metal as tough as titanium, and even knead it into a perfect sphere. It was needless to say what he could do with iron. Huo Yuao quickly converted the iron pieces in his hands into the desired shapes. He used the carving knife after kneading the iron to carve them into the precise shapes and forms that he wanted. If the time Huo Yuao needed to create the formation arrays was considered quick, then the speed at which he was working now could only be described as frighteningly fast, almost to the point where Sun Wen's eyes couldn't distinguish his movements. Huo Yuao would subtly shift and tilt his body from time to time during his work, intentionally blocking off Sun Wen's line of sight. When Sun Wen changed his own position to continue watching, several metal pieces would already have been swiftly completed, and Sun Wen never got a chance to witness what Huo Yuao did during that time. Sun Wen could gradually discern some clues. However, Huo Yuao wasn't just carving and sculpting the iron pieces when he was making the shell. He looked like he was engraving something on their surface. While piece after piece of arrow-shaped metal sticks were incorporated within that emanated soft metal clanging sounds from time to time. Crack, crack, clang, clang. A series of crisp metallic sounds could be heard. An iron box that was roughly 1 foot long, 3 inches wide and 2 inches thick appeared before Sun Wen. The formation array that Huo Yuao had designed before had already been infused inside. Despite his extraordinary memory, Sun Wen couldn't remember much, as Huo Yuao's forging speed was simply too fast, and he had intentionally blocked off his vision at times. He could feel that Huo Yuao's soul tool was extremely fine and exquisite, especially for a shell formed by iron. He even felt a little eager to discover what it could do. You're done. Sun Wen asked Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao nodded and pressed down on its surface with his right hand, as if he were making some final touches. All right. Show me what this consumable can do. Sun Wen muttered indifferently. Huo Yuao wasted no words, stepping out from behind the lab desk and moving into the soul tool testing area. Every large laboratory would have a soul tool testing area, which was used to test completed soul tools. Of course, the testing area had a limit to how much it could take, and soul tools that were too powerful couldn't be used here. Huo Yuao raised the rectangular box in his hands and pointed at the alloy wall more than 50 meters away, which was 2 meters thick. He pressed with his fingers, and Sun Wen only heard a buzzing sound. A series of ear-piercing explosive sounds could be heard from 50 meters away, and metal powder erupted from the alloy wall. The iron box in Huo Yuao's hands groaned and shattered into pieces with a splat. Huo Yuao pressed his hands inwards, and the broken soul tool in his hands was immediately kneaded into a metal sphere with his mysterious jade hands. Any soul engineer below class 4 probably wouldn't understand what Huo Yuao had done. However, Sun Wen wasn't a soul engineer below class 4. The illustrious Virtue Hall had given him special subsidies, and he was also one of the illustrious Virtue Hall's research consultants. He was also a special teacher in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, and he was a class 8 soul engineer. He couldn't be more clear about what Huo Yuao did in that instant. Sun Wen's eyes sparkled like the stars in the night sky, and he immediately gave his feedback. Class 4 soul tool, name unknown. If better original materials were used, its offensive abilities would be close to a class 5 soul tool. No, more accurately put, this should be considered a stationary soul tool that doesn't come with explosive projectiles. It's very difficult for soul barriers to defend against this, and its speed can rival that of a soul ray, while its force is far superior. What's more outstanding is the fact that this soul tool has impressive extensibility. Wait, when you fired that shot, you only pressed a button on the soul tool, and you didn't inject any soul power. I understand now. You used the charge array to infuse soul power, to activate the entire soul tool when you were placing the entire formation array inside. Ingenious. What an ingenious plan. In other words, even normal people can use this soul tool as long as it's completely charged. However, how can the overall discharge system be so small? There's something about this soul tool's shell, and you must have included elements that I don't understand. Huo Yuao was filled with awe as he listened to Sun Wen's analysis. Every statement was right on point. Right on point. There indeed was something within the shell. The shell structure was so compact and sophisticated that it could rival even the formation array inside. This was the most important feature of the entire soul tool. The formation array was nothing much, but this shell was Huo Yuao's secret. This soul tool had a name that shook the entire continent 10,000 years ago. Juga Divine Crossbow. Tang Clan, the person that established the Tang Sect, was its inventor. However, the Juga Divine Crossbow that Huo Yuao had just forged was a soul tool that incorporated the Juga Divine Crossbow's principles and structures. Even though he had the Juga Divine Crossbow's original blueprint, Huo Yuao had had to study it for more than half a year before finally completing this creation. Even Van didn't know this soul tool's actual structure, as this was the first soul tool that he had created for the Tang Sect. Just as Sun Wen said, the Juga Divine Crossbow's force wasn't that formidable, but its authentic extensibility and that normal people could also use it could be considered exemplary and extraordinary features. It could even be said to be something that the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy had been pursuing for a long time. The number one research topic pursued by the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy was how they could enable normal people to use soul tools. This research topic focused on empirical principles, and not how soul tools were made or how they operated. Sun Wen grabbed Huo Yuao's hands and said, "Tell me right now, how did you do that? How did you create such an impressive soul tool?" "No, sorry, I'm too excited. Sell it to me. Sell your research to me. You can name any price you want. How about that?" Huo Yuao's impression of Sun Wen became a little better as he watched Sun Wen's exhilaration. He could feel that Sun Wen was the kind of person that would give everything he had for his research, and these kinds of people were usually pure, and didn't have too many ulterior motives. "Teacher Sun, I'm here for your guidance. Did I pass the assessment?" "Of course you've passed. Are you selling this soul tool? Even though its empirical principles may not be enough to solve the problem, it will be able to give great inspiration." "Wait, I don't know your name yet." Huo Yuao sounded a little exasperated, and replied, "My name is Huo Yuao." All right. Huo Yuao, tell me, can you tell me your research findings?" Sun Wen asked eagerly. Huo Yuao shook his head without hesitation. "I'm sorry, Teacher Sun, I can't sell it to you. I'm sure you're aware of the competition between the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy and Shrek Academy. More importantly, the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy belongs to the Sun Moon Empire. You should understand how frightening it could be if soul tools that could be used by normal people were eventually dispersed to the military." Sun Wen's brows creased tightly and said, "That means you're not willing to sell." Huo Yuao replied with a resolute and uncompromising tone. "No, I'm not. You don't look like a belligerent. So do you really want to use my research to incite conflict and war? Even if it's for assistance, I belong to the Dalu Empire, and I cannot give my research findings to the Sun Moon Empire." Sun Wen's facial expressions changed continuously as he said, "Aren't you afraid of me doing something to you because of your research?" Huo Yuao smiled plainly and answered, "You probably wouldn't have told me that if you did harbor any such intentions. Furthermore, Shrek Academy can't be so easily bullied and pushed around by others. Even though your cultivation is much higher than mine, I have a 10% chance of taking you down with me at this distance. Do you believe me?" Sun Wen didn't explode in a fit of fury like Huo Yuao imagined he would. Instead, Sun Wen had a look of genuine sincerity and said, "All right, then tell me, what will it take for you to share your research findings with me? How about I give everything I have to teach and mentor you? I will use my own research findings in exchange for yours. You have to know that my latest research findings are extraordinarily impressive, and one of them is controlling soul tools from a distance. This is something that only I can do within the entire illustrious Virtue Hall. Even though it's a class 8 soul tool, people have touted it to be the class 9 soul tool among class 8 soul tools." Huo Yuao still shook his head with a calm expression on his face. He didn't know that if Jing Hengchen, the Hall Master of the Virtuous Hall, heard Sun Wen's words, he probably would have vomited blood. "Don't you understand?" Sun Wen could tell that Huo Yue disregarded his own research findings, and immediately grew furious. Huo Yue said plainly, I don't really understand, teacher Sun. However, I can tell that your research findings are more suitable for the national military, and not so much for personal use. However, I'm not a soldier. As for reconnaissance abilities, do have a look. Huo Yue's eyes glowed as he spoke. Pale golden light flowed out, and his spiritual detection immediately landed on Sun Wen's body. Three-dimensional images immediately appeared in Sun Wen's mind. He felt his body quiver vigorously as he could clearly feel everything within 500 meters around him. Everything, including things outside the laboratory, were all part of this mystical detection ability. Huo Yue didn't give him much time to experience it, and he withdrew his soul skill as soon as he activated it. He was still gazing calmly at Sun Wen. He revealed his abilities because he had a faint feeling that he could make a breakthrough with this teacher Sun. This breakthrough would be immeasurably beneficial for both Shrek Academy and the Tang Sect. Sun Wen gazed at Huo Yue, his words stuck in his throat, rendered completely speechless momentarily. That's not possible. You can't be a spirit-type soul master, just judging from the soul skills you displayed forging the soul tool. It's not really a secret. I have twin martial souls, one assault type, one spiritual control type. The files your academy has on me should say about as much. With his experiences in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament, there wasn't much hidden about him. In the eyes of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, from 2 years ago, Huo Yue was a spirit-type soul master, making his instincts keenly accurate, and he could sense that this teacher Sun wasn't someone sent with malicious intentions at all. His blistering passion for soul tools gave Huo Yue an idea. Spirit type. Assault type. Sun Wen's eyes instantly began to sparkle. He grabbed Huo Yue's shoulders and said, a soul master with twin martial souls, and one of them is a spirit type. What a heaven-sent blessing. This is great, just too great. Huo Yue forced a laugh and said, don't be so excited, teacher Sun. Can you let go of me first? Oh, sorry. Sun Wen's face was flushed red from all the excitement. Spirit type, you live up to the Shrek Academy name. Wow, you actually have a spirit type martial soul. What's your soul power rank? It wasn't as simple as just accepting Huo Yue. Within this brief conversation he even changed his form of addressing him. Rank 40. However, my spirit type soul is the primary soul for now, and spirit type souls are just too few and far between, so I just haven't been able to get a 4th ring yet. I'm still a 3-ring soul elder. Huo Yue gave a detailed explanation. The thought from earlier flared up again as he saw the fiery passion in Sun Wen's eyes. Sun Wen frowned and said, rank 40? That's a little too low. We could have a go if you had at least 6 soul rings. Huo Yue was momentarily speechless, and couldn't help but remind him. I'm only 14 this year, teacher Sun, not 24. Right, I forgot. Regardless, you've won my approval with your abilities. I will admit that with the spiritual detection alone, I am confident in mentoring you to become a top-tier soul engineer, even if you've never touched soul tools before. I just have a few more questions for you, Huo Yue nodded. Sun Wen contemplated for a short while, lowered his voice and asked, first off, can you control your spiritual detection's area of effect? More specifically, can you reduce the area of effect in exchange for accuracy and precision? Huo Yue nodded and said, I can do that for myself. However, I can't do that if I'm sharing my spiritual detection with others. Sun Wen said contentedly, that's impressive enough as is. Soul engineers need to rely on hard work to learn and research. They can't just rely on strength to create things. Strength is a supporting tool. My second question is, can your spiritual detection reach deep into physical materials to perceive the transformations within them? Huo Yue said without hesitation, yes, but only to a certain level. To put it simply, I can't look deep inside the most complex things, but a human body is no problem. Naturally, that also means that I can perceive soul power transformations inside someone. Sun Wen didn't expect Huo Yue to be so honest and straightforward with him. He gave an astonished glance as he looked over at Huo Yue, then he tilted his head slightly as he said, truly a powerful spirit-type martial soul. My last question, will you accept me as your teacher, as a disciple? My hope is that you leave Shrek Academy and join the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. This might sound outrageous, but I can guarantee you direct entrance to the illustrious Virtue Hall, without any entry examinations at all. I will teach you all I have to offer, and mentor you into a top-tier soul engineer, and you will be a part in our most important and substantial research projects. Plus, I dare say that the illustrious Virtue Hall is at least dozens of years ahead in soul tool research from any other power. Huo Yue smiled and replied, I realize that in the trip to the Radiant City, teacher Sun, and I'm sure what you've just said is true, dozens may even be a conservative estimate. However, I need to know what will happen if the day comes, where the illustrious Virtue Hall's technology and soul tools leave them entirely unafraid of even the most powerful soul masters. Will the Sun Moon Empire be as peaceful as they are now? Sun Wen frowned and replied impatiently, this isn't something that researchers like us should be worried about. We should only care about how to produce more magnificent, practical, and novel soul tools. Huo Yue loosed a faint sigh and said, that's because this is your country, but it isn't mine. I don't want to, nor can I, fuel conflicts because of my passion for soul tools, which leads to the destruction of life. Sun Wen muttered indifferently, you're too full of yourself. You think you can incite a war by yourself? Huo Yue said seriously, maybe I'm not powerful enough to incite a war, but I won't give my abilities to a rival country. Do forgive me. You are my teacher now, so I hope that means you're willing to guide me. Sun Wen's face seemed a little black, but he had to admit that this exchange student from Shrek Academy possesses the qualifications to shake him to the core. Perhaps this little fella didn't have much experience in regards to soul tool research and concepts, but he has solid foundations and a creativity that is imperative for soul tool research. Furthermore, he has a spirit-type martial soul, and that's as unique and extraordinary as it could get. Sun Wen sighed and said, that's a pity. However, I'm still willing to mentor you. The only difference is that I can't share some of the most crucial information from the illustrious Virtue Hall. Of course, we can still negotiate if you're willing to make an exchange using your research findings. He smiled sheepishly after he spoke. Huo Yue said, have you ever thought about leaving this place, teacher Sun? Sun Wen was slightly taken aback, and shook his head as he said, no, why would I leave? I have always wanted to become a top-tier soul engineer since I was a kid. I want to enable the civilians, so that they too can use soul tools, so that I can change their lives forever, and perhaps even the entire world. Across the entire continent, only the illustrious Virtue Hall can provide sufficient budget and a research direction for me. Even though the illustrious Virtue Hall can't teach me much, they still have the best research facilities. Shrek Academy may have superior soul masters, but they are far inferior in terms of soul tool research facilities. Huo Yue smiled. I wasn't about to convince you to join Shrek Academy. I wanted to tell you that the only way for you to obtain my research findings is to join my sect. I accomplished my research by incorporating the esoteric knowledge from my sect, so it doesn't really belong to myself. Sun Wen was stunned momentarily and asked subconsciously, you have a sect? What sect? Huo Yue said, the Tang Sect. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. Sun Wen contemplated for a short while, and then exclaimed, the Tang Sect, the one that invented hidden weapons. The Tang Sect that existed during the time of the Heaven Do Empire? Huo Yue nodded his head and asked with a surprised look, you know of the Heaven Do Empire? Sun Wen replied, of course I do. I come from the Heavenly Soul Empire, but my parents' generation migrated to the Sun Moon Empire. Huo Yue was even more moved at this. Then, are you willing to join the Tang Sect? Sun Wen grunted coldly and answered, are those lunatic ravings, or are you trying to deceive me? According to what I know, the Tang Sect no longer exists. Even if there are remnants of it lying around, they are extremely weak. Are you sure you can provide me with sufficient research expenses and facilities? Huo Yue could feel the contempt and scorn in his voice, and he was instantly infuriated. However, he took a deep breath and pacified his rage quickly, as he had to admit that Tang Sect was indeed in a declining state, and was currently far from enough to attract the likes of Sun Wen. Yes, the Tang Sect cannot afford a top-tier soul engineer like you right now. However, let's make a bet. If the Tang Sect rises again within 10 years, and they have a large enough research budget and facilities for you, then you shall join it. Sun Wen answered, you still don't understand what I'm after. I don't care about the money, and I probably don't care about anything else except the profound world of soul tools, much like the research that you just showed me. How about this? I will join your Tang Sect if you can produce 10 of these extraordinary research findings. Who are you? Raised his right hand and placed it before Sun Swen. Sun Swen was a little shocked. What are you doing? Who are you? Said with determination. A promise must be kept. We will high five to make an oath. Sun Swen chuckled and blurted out. You think it's so easy to produce similar research breakthroughs? I have to say you could even be considered fortunate to have one. Some Sol engineers cannot even produce one such research breakthrough in a lifetime, let alone 10 in different fields. Who are you? Eyes sparkled as he gazed at Sun Swen and said, Teacher Sun, whether or not I can accomplish this is my problem. I only want to ask you, if I succeed, will you honor your word? The amusement in Sun Swen's eyes disappeared as he lowered his voice and said, if you can accomplish it, and every Sol tool research direction is different, then I will join the Tang Sect. Clap, clap, clap. 3 high fives, and the oath was made. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.